somebody asked me to talk about breakups. She broke up with her boyfriend, but it's still just really hard, and just like missing that person even though you know they're not right for you and that you did make the right decision. And basically how she was like, how do I get through this? So I wanted to give my thoughts kind of just like about this, but then also just some recent tips and tricks. Okay, so number one, I think this is probably like the number one dating advice and like the number one thing I wish I knew when I was younger. And it is basically to put yourself and your independence above anything. And with that, don't be afraid to walk away. So in this instance, you know, I don't think she got into specifics, but she basically just knew this was not the right guy for her. I don't know if it was kind of a toxic situation. But she knew that, you know, she had to leave. And so that I think is a great example of putting yourself first. It does feel really hard, and I feel like especially as women when we're in relationships with men, just because there is that societal pressure for women to, you know, oh my god, like we need a man, I'm not complete without a man, that's like the number one most important thing, like oh my god, I want to have a Disney princess story, you know, it's like very much ingrained in us. And I feel like there's almost this vibe that it's like, well, at least having a man is better, even if it's like a toxic relationship, even if he's piece of shit, that's better than no man at all. And you know, that's just society and patriarchy. Like we're really just, that is drilled into our brains. So especially with that against us, you know, knowing when to leave and leaving or ending things is like that's such a brave thing to do. And sometimes acts of self-love and self-preservation do feel very uncomfortable and messy and emotional. And it's like, bro, when I think of like, oh, self-love, it's like I think of like buying myself a nice coffee, or like, yeah, I'm like, it's always like buying stuff or oh, taking a bubble bath, like something that's relaxing and luxurious. Like when I think of like, oh, self-love, I don't think of like crying my eyes out over somebody and like feeling like I made a mistake, you know, like to me in my brain, just, you know, firsthand, like that doesn't, I don't think of self-love in that way, but it is self-love. And the same can be true for, you know, quitting a job that you really don't like, that's really not in alignment with what you want to do and your life purpose. It could be ending a friendship that you've outgrown or that has turned kind of toxic. Also just remembering that change is always going to be uncomfortable, and sometimes we know we're making the right decision, you know, in our gut, in our soul, but it's still going to be hard.